Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AGSpartanFan35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
It's March 28th, 2023. We're in episode 117. That's crazy to say. Can't believe it's almost April here on Saturday. That's pretty wild. College basketball, 3 games left. It's been a journey. The road ends here, as they say. The Final Four, we'll get to all that good stuff here in the first down. Plenty of stuff to talk about basketball-wise in general. Some golf stuff. Baseball starts on Thursday. That's kind of wild. I thought it always started like the 1st of April, not March 30th. But here we go. Tigers are going to be terrible again, so we won't have to talk about them at all. I think NHL and NBA playoffs start up in a couple weeks. NFL drafts 1 month from yesterday. That's pretty crazy as well. So a lot of stuff to talk about here. We'll go to the podium as always. I'll go first. Michigan State football. Have not talked football much at all, but Michigan State's going through spring practice right now. For those that don't pay too much attention, I thought I'd give a quick little update, what I read. Some good stuff. Peyton Thorne and the quarterbacks. Apparently it's neck and neck between the three. Apparently it's Thorne and Mr. Kim are kind of the top two right now. Wouldn't be surprised if Kim got the job, but I would expect Thorne to probably start the season. But I'm glad there's an open competition. Michigan State's offensive line's healthy. Say they look really good. That's awesome. We need that. And the team in general is pretty healthy, which is fantastic. Because last year, if you didn't know, Michigan State couldn't even have a spring game or scrimmage or anything because there were so many damaged players, especially on the offensive line. So that's really good. Michigan State fired their GM, so their general manager of the program, so basically recruiting coordinator kind of thing, got rid of him, looking for a new one. I think it's good to get fresh blood in there. Michigan State was missing on some guys. Kind of got to get back to their roots, in my opinion, to recruiting blue-collar guys that aren't going to enter the transfer portal if they don't play right away. Get D'Antonio-type guys, but also mixing in those big names that you can get based off of, prior relationships and whatnot. But Michigan State football, hopefully, and that's the next thing we have to look forward to as sports fans, is football. That's pretty crazy, aside from summer full of golf, but some people, that's not their thing. Crazy. That's a long way away. But not really. It's like 6 months, so.
Let's not wish it away. We're not even warm enough
later.
yet for summer, so we need to get some warmth first. All right, for my podium, I want to tell you why this Final Four is great for college basketball, and it is not an argument for expansion of the field. I'm going to tell you this. Anybody who argues that this Final Four is bad for college basketball, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do Ryan a favor. Go watch the frickin' NBA. Because what you're asking for is the quote-unquote best teams to play for championships. And to do that, you need series. I have no interest in series. I have no interest in 12th place Big 12 or Big 10 or ACC teams making the tournament either. Because it would take away the opportunity of the FDUs of the world, of the Florida Atlantics of the world, of the San Diego States of the world who play in otherwise so-called middling conferences, but clearly are really good basketball teams. College basketball, and March Madness in particular, is the greatest sporting event, not because the best team wins every year. Where else in a sport can last year you have a blue blood-laden Final Four of, regardless of their seeds, because remember, North Carolina was an 8 seed last year. North Carolina, Kansas eventual champion, Villanova and Duke, and then a year later you have Florida Atlantic playing San Diego State and Miami playing UConn. You have 3 first-time Final Four teams. Anybody who argues that that's bad for college basketball, I'm sorry, you're not a college basketball fan, and I don't care about your opinion. College basketball fans that are true fans that watch basketball all winter long love this. They love the upsets. They don't care if it means you tear up your bracket and you lose your $5 entry or your $25 entry or however much you pay to get into your pools. It is all about the fun and the excitement. Yeah, winning a bracket contest is great, blah, 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 whatever. I'm telling you, there's a reason nobody in the history of mankind has ever gotten a perfect bracket. It will never happen, and that is what makes March so unique and so brilliant and so beautiful, because every corner you turn, you think, oh, that team's run is going to end. That team's run is going to end. We can sit here as Michigan State fans and say, damn it, if we had beaten Kansas State, we would have beaten Florida Atlantic. I don't know about that. Florida Atlantic beat Kansas State. We beat Michigan State. So, point being, please, save your breath, save your argument, or go talk into a paper bag or into a toilet or something. I don't want your mini-series. I don't care that Purdue's not in the Final Four. They lost to FDU. That's brilliant. It's fun. It's what makes March mad. Don't at me. Let's go March Madness.
Couldn't agree more. Good podium. All right, tee up. We're going to tee up NIT Women's Middle Tennessee State. I don't know this girl's name, but she deserves to go to jail, to be punished, to be...
Assault.
She literally assaulted someone, walking through a handshake line, playing Bowling Green. After they must have lost.
They lost. Memphis lost.
Punches
Sucker
this
punched
girl
her
in the face. Come on, are you serious?
When I've seen video of the women who are worse than the men, to like basically tackling the girl from Iowa, the Caitlin girl who's had a 40-point triple-double the other night. Like, if you can't beat them, you beat them. Is that what the point is? And I'm sorry, but I'm going to go a little bit there for a second. That was a African American girl punching a white girl. If it was the opposite, ESPN would have had that girl absolutely hung and quartered, the white girl that is, for doing it. Not a cricket from the national media. A couple stories here and there on TikTok, that's all you saw. It's ridiculous, the double standard. And I'm telling you, that is racism. Not all this other purported woke bullshit racism that's always reported. That is an act of violence, aggressiveness, and racism. And if you don't agree, then I can't help you because you're part of the problem in society. It's gross the way people behave nowadays. And I'm going to go off this a little bit as we kind of get into first down territory, recapping the weekend. This doesn't have as much to do with the basketball games. But I'm telling you what. Speaking of handshake lines, and I've heard like a Jay Billis actually kind of recommend that maybe you don't have them anymore because of heat of the moment, whatever. I say BS, because if you can't be an adult and lose with the kind of grace that you win with and lose with class, you can't function in society. So don't tell me, well, the solution is go away from handshake lines. No, it's not. The solution is to effing grow up. And I'm going to do a case in point. I get it, they were sad. I get it, justly. Kansas State lost very much the same way Michigan State did. Didn't get a shot off, had it in their best player's hands. He gave it up for whatever reason. Didn't get a shot off, lost by 3, got upset by Florida Atlantic. I get it. Teams are sad. I get it. The cameras are right in your face afterwards. You have your cooling off, your grieving period, whatever. Not one Kansas State player even made eye contact with the Florida Atlantic player in that line. Again, you win with class and dignity, you lose with more class and dignity. And for every bit of it Coach Tang had for Kansas State, and he, after the cooling off period, he went in Florida Atlantic's locker room and really displayed great sportsmanship. Where's that from your team, Coach? Because your team acted like a bunch of a-holes. After they beat Michigan State, they acted like jerks, and then they acted, no surprise, like jerks when they lost to Florida Atlantic because they didn't get what they want. I'm so tired of society and the gimme, gimme, gimme and the entitlement. Grow up, act with class, win with it, lose with it, be done. But then again, hey, we're Michigan State fans and we watch it all the time out of Jawan and Jimmy down in Michigan. It blows my mind how adults like my age and older, who are, quote, molders of men and women, can't teach these kids right from wrong and demand an expectation out of them. I guarantee you, Coach Izzo demands and has an expectation. You want to throw a Gatorade jug, you want to throw your water bottle down, you want to pout, you want to have a tantrum, do it in the locker room away from the cameras, but you respect your opponent that you just went to battle with. It's gross. It's gross.
Could not agree more. I guess we'll just jump into 4 downs here. Second weekend review. Speaking of Kansas State, Michigan State, really good basketball game.
Yeah, if you're just a
classic-
basketball fan, it's a
classic
fantastic game.
No defense whatsoever. Very disappointing on Michigan State side. I mean, offensively, can't complain. Made shots, made big plays, except for the last, didn't get a shot.
Only missed 4 free throws, but it felt like the ones they missed
Missed
were
one and
horrible.
one.
Joey missed the front end of 1-on-1. Malik missed 2 late. You just don't go for the rebound late after maybe it was tipped, maybe it wasn't. Basketball's a game of inches, and it's never really one thing or another, but those things add up, and those are some. I mean, Michigan State didn't get, it was hot potato. Tyson gives it to Joey, who had a clean look, but he passed up, who gave it to Malik, who had a clean-ish look and passed it up and passed it back to Joey. And Michigan State never got a shot off, and it was disappointing because, when you look in the grand scheme of things, and it's easy, like I said in my open, it's easy to say, oh, well,
Right.
Michigan State would have been in the Final Four. I mean, the road was easier, right? You've got to take advantage of those things because the tournament comes with a great degree of luck. Even when Michigan State, last Big Ten team to win the national championship in 2001, they overcame double-digit deficits a couple of times. In the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, they had a battle with Wisconsin. They had a battle through the Mateen cheap shot that Dupay put on them. It's never easy. There's always a magical run in teams. And I don't buy that these teams, one of the arguments I saw against my podium was that, these teams can't make a run. BS. Florida Atlantic made a run. Everybody picked Memphis as the darling to not only win that game, but beat Purdue in the next round. And no, it was Florida Atlantic. Yep. San Diego State, nobody picked them to get to the...
No one picked them I picked them to lose at Charleston.
This Final Four, 1 in 125,000 shot. 1 in 125,000. So put it in betting parlance. It wasn't a bet, by the way, but you bet $1 on this Final Four, the way the odds rolled out, you would have won $125,000. That's how uncommon this is. And, so you look at it like a Michigan State, and you can't help but be disappointed. Do they have the team and all the horses to win a national championship legitimately? Probably not, but who's to say, right? But that's why you got every play matters. Every play in March matters, and we saw it all weekend long. The way that Creighton lost on a crazy foul that was a foul. I'm sorry, I'm one who's like, oh, swallow the whistle. But you know what? If you want him to call it, and it's consistent, it's a foul. He pushed him. Would he have missed the shot? Probably the way it was going, but he fouled him. So, sucks you lost that way. Texas blew a 13-point lead and lost by 8 or 9 points. The only team that's left standing that looks absolutely,
UConn.
utterly, and incredibly dominant is UConn. And I don't know that anybody ever, maybe Ryan, I don't know that anybody ever reseeds the tournament kind of after the fact and looks at it and goes, oh boy, what should they have been kind of based on how they
And
played.
they were really good all year.
UConn, okay, so at Florida Atlantic, they probably were an 8 or 9 all along. San Diego State, yeah, they're probably a 5. They play in a non-Power 5 conference.
Miami's probably more of a 4.
Kansas State, yeah, they were really good all year. Okay, they're a 3. Miami, you could easily flip-flop with Indiana, been a 4. They won the ACC regular season title. Maybe they're a 3. UConn, no way was a 4 seed. UConn was probably not a 1 seed because they did hit the skid and the whole regular season counts, but they were easily a 2 seed. And you're seeing it because they've won their games by a collective 90 points. 22.5 points per game that they're winning by.
That's crazy.
That is unreal. And they have to be the heavy favorite for the weekend. Now, in a tournament where that doesn't matter, that's why we'll talk about that in second down is what's going to happen in the Final Four. But, this is funny because I did a ton of research. I've got my brackets in front of me. I had 2 teams of my heavily researched bracket based on all these things that you see on the teams that do this and the 3-point shooting and don't turn it over and Ken Palm this and Ken Palm that. I had 2 teams make the Elite Eight, and I had those 2 teams scheduled to make the Final Four. Creighton and Texas, they both, blew it in the Elite Eight and didn't make the Final Four. But I had 2 of 8 the best in our TFS pool, Polo, 43 games correct, and he's by 6 games is more. Now, points-wise, he's not going to win. Shout out to Emily on my team at work who is coming from like 30th place in a 33-team contest, and if UConn wins, she wins going away. She's the only
That's
person
crazy.
who picked. She's the only person with a champion left. And if UConn gets to the finals and loses, UB or Tony, you're going to be right up there too. I mean, you're going to have a shot at money. Just a crazy tournament, crazy weekend. You know, the Sweet 16 games, really minus the UConn game, were really, really good. You know, Kansas State and Michigan State was epic. San Diego State just absolutely stymied Alabama. Princeton's run came to an end against Creighton. Miami dominated Indiana. You know, Xavier really laid an egg against Texas. Texas looked almost as good as UConn until they fell flat the last 10 minutes the other day.
Great.
UCLA absolutely destroyed Gonzaga in the Sweet 16. That was the other game. Actually, the West is the one that's like
UCLA. You mean UConn? UConn can smoke Gonzaga. UCLA,
oh, that's right. Yeah,
UCLA had Gonzaga.
That's
then
right.
Gonzaga
That's
had
right.
UCLA.
That's right.
and then
Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking about that.
They
Yeah,
tried- they didn't-
UConn smoked Gonzaga.
Neither of them wanted to win.
Gonzaga was down big against UCLA, then came back and was up big, and then almost choked their way out of Morrison style, and then hit the Villanova play to send them to the Elite Eight. So, crazy tournament, and again, it's why it's so great, and it's why I learned. You know, I tried like some of the minus betting all the underdogs, which I've read a lot of times can really pay off in the end, especially in a tournament like this. That's the one thing I didn't do, and I should have, because I'm down like, I mean, we're talking small penny bets, but I'm like, if I've bet $30 so far on the tournament, I've lost 25 of it, and you know, no return. It's just like everywhere you turn, you're like, okay, now it's going to hit. Now the favorites are going to win. Now it's going to be this, and it just gets turned on its ear. It's crazy, but you know, heroes are made, and you got a program like Florida Atlantic who had never won a game in the tournament, and they're in the Final Four, and they've got a couple of guys that are only sophomores that were cast-offs from bigger D1 programs. So what happens? Can they make another run? Or are those guys going to transfer again because of the stupid rules in the transfer portal?
Right.
Are they going to transfer back up because they've proven themselves?
Yeah.
Nothing has evened the playing field more than the wide open transfer portal, which I'm
good
not a
and
huge
bad.
fan of it, but it does help the parity of basketball. And unless you're a fan of one of the blue bloods like we are, you kind of sit back and go, you know what, that's pretty cool that these teams have a shot to win it. I mean, Florida Atlantic or San Diego State is going to play for the national championship.
Yeah, that's crazy to say.
And at one point in the weekend, Florida Atlantic, Creighton, Princeton, San Diego State was potentially going to play. I mean, it's nuts. It's insane, and it's awesome.
I love it. A lot of people don't, but I do. Just a wild tournament. I mean, probably the craziest I've ever seen in terms of just weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
But we've talked all year. I mean, college basketball has just been a big pile of mediocre, and it's shown. I mean, This is what you get. It's lovely. It's not like college football where the same 4 to 6 teams dominate year in and year out as the same.
That's why the expansion of the college football playoff is going to be so great, because it's going to get us closer to this where you have some potential for some upsets. And that's what I believe what makes college sports great and what gives these kids a chance for one shining moment. Because no, in a 7-game series, FDU is not going to beat Purdue 4 times. Florida Atlantic's probably not going to beat Kansas State 4 times in a 7-game series. Kansas State's probably not going to beat Michigan State 4 games in a 7-game series. But that's why we don't play a 7-game series or a 5-game series. That's why it's one and done, because it's the greatest thing. Is the best team the champion every year? Nope. And I have zero problems with that.
I
So
agree.
moving on to second down, we'll tee up, we'll preview the Final Four. A couple factoids here for our listeners. This is the first time since 1970 that 3 first-time teams all showed up in the Final Four in the same year. That's from before I was born.
That's crazy.
The combined seed total of the 4 teams is 23, which is the second highest total since the seeding began in 1979. And this marks the first time that not a single top 3 seed made the Final Four. This also made the first tournament ever since the field expanded, at least, that no number 1 seed even made it to the Elite 8. That just speaks to the parity of college basketball. And then the other thing that I'll say before we get into kind of picking the games and previewing is, the old handy-dandy KenPom, right? Since it's been in existence, every national champion has been a top 40 offense and a top 22 defense. Only one such team remains, and that's UConn. They're firmly in that. They've been firmly in it, I believe, since I've been talking about this in late January, early February. That says that they should win it. Otherwise, it's going to break a streak. And we know streaks are made to be broken.
I think KenPom reigns supreme. We'll get to that. Let's do that. Let's go Final Four preview, second down here. FAU, San Diego State, real quick. I think, really good defense versus a team that's versatile on offense, can shoots a lot of threes, plays at a pretty good pace. San Diego State has a lot of veterans. I think this game's gonna be in the 60s. I do. And I think San Diego State 9-1 in games 5 points or fewer, decided by 5 points or fewer.
Yeah,
I think that reigns supreme. I think it's gonna be a good game, but I think San Diego State's gonna get them.
I think it cancels out that they're both first timers in the Final Four. They're both going to be nervous as hell. They're going to both have major jitters. I love the fire and the energy of Florida Atlantic, but hey, San Diego State was down a decent amount to Creighton too, just like FAU was to Kansas State late in the game and came back. Looking at it, let's just see what their KenPom defenses are. So San Diego State, actually a really good defense. They are the number 4 ranked defense, and they've been in the top 5 really for defense most of the year. Florida Atlantic, respectable, number 24 on offense, and then number 29 on defense. Of course, that's through the tournament. It's not the beginning of it. So the ratings get adjusted. But I think in a game like this, in a dome where the sight lines are horrible, I get why they play in a dome, but I hate that they play in a dome. Probably especially in a tournament like this, honestly, because the general fan ticket buying is probably not going to be as good. And we're talking about Florida Atlantic, who plays in an arena smaller than DeVos, where Ryan played in Division III. For that matter, San Diego State's much bigger. As much as Dutcher is, I'm sorry, he's a cheater. He coached with Fisher at Michigan, who cheated. He's a loyal guy. He's obviously a very good coach, a good defensive coach. I'm rooting for Florida Atlantic, to be completely honest, because of those reasons, but I do like how San Diego State plays, and I think San Diego State wins this game probably by 5 or 6 points. I don't think the margin's going to be higher than probably 5 or 6 either way the whole game. I think that if they can make some clutch free throws down the end, they win that game.
Yeah.
And they march to Monday.
Connecticut, Miami. I'm intrigued by this game. Really good offense. And then UConn's a great defensive team.
Yeah, Miami, the number 5 offense.
Miami's fun
but
to
the
watch.
104th defense.
Fun to watch.
And UConn, the number 3 offense and the number 11 defense.
Nigel Pack, really good. Wong's really good. That Jordan Miller guy is really fun to watch. O'Meara, big guy. He's like 6'7".
And just when you counted them out against Texas, they shut down Texas and came back and won that game going away. But I'm sorry, there's no way. All things equal on offense, which they're not really, because UConn's just kind of special the way that they're set up on offense. UConn's defense is that much better. Defense wins games.
Yeah.
I don't think UConn's going to win this game by 22.5 points.
It would be close.
But I think they kind of pull away at the end. I think they win by 10 plus. Larinaga, another Final Four for him, but Miami's not going to get it done. And I think it's going to be UConn playing San Diego State in what could actually be a fairly intriguing game. I don't think it's going to not going to break any records for viewership, but I think will be an intriguing game because, again, San Diego State can play some defense, but UConn they're built 1 to 5. They've got some bench on them. They got guys that can knock down the three. Listen to Danny Hurley, a.k.a. Jeff Walgren, after the game. What they lacked last year and why they went out when they went out last year is they lacked three-point shooting, and they got some guys that can knock it down from 3 to go with Sonogo and some of their other guys. Is their point guard Hawkins or Jackson?
The point guard's
44, the bigger
that's
guy.
Jackson. He's like a 2 or 3.
He's kind of like a point forward.
The point guard's the Newton.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, then they have Calcaterra as a shooter.
Yeah,
Hawkins is sharpshooter. Klingon coming off the bench.
I'll tell you, we probably talked about in the pod. UConn played phenomenal in the non-conference. Then they hit the skids.
They
in the
haven't
Big
lost
East,
a non-conference
but the
game
Big
all
East
year.
was really tough. No surprise. I mean, they had some of the longer-lasting teams in the dance. I just don't see there's a way that San Diego State. I don't think it's going to be like UNLV Duke in 1990, where UNLV won by 40. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think San Diego State plays enough defense to keep it respectable. But I think UConn wins that game by 15 plus points
Yeah, I do.
in the championship.
UConn's going to win the national championship.
It's going to be they're going to be one of the first programs, minus probably like Kansas and North Carolina, to win national championship with 3+ coaches.
That's crazy.
Because
I mean,
Ollie, Calhoun,
All
and
since
Hurley.
what, 99?
Yeah.
Or whatever, 97? Is that when they won?
Yeah, Calhoun won 3, Ollie won 1, and if they win
Hurley.
this one, it'd be 5.
5.
5 in 24 years.
It's pretty
dominant reign.
crazy.
Pretty dominant reign. Usually, you think UConn basketball, you think women's.
Are they
But-
a blue blood if they win it? I think so. You got to
Yeah, I
consider.
mean, if you have 5 national championships in that span of time, I mean, how can you not be?
yeah.
Just because they weren't in the 70s and 80s. There's plenty of teams that were good in the 70s and 80s that suck now.
Right.
Arguably, Michigan was better in the 60s, 70s, and 80s than they have been in the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. So they're not a blue blood, so it doesn't necessarily count. But, Michigan State's more blue blood since the late 70s. The true blue bloods, Kentucky, North Carolina. Duke wasn't even a blue blood until late 70s into the 80s when Krzyzewski was there.
Right.
They're called a blue blood because they had so much success with Krzyzewski, but they were not that good in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Kentucky's been there all along, from Rupp and on. Kansas has been there all along. Indiana, minus a few pockets, has been there all along. North Carolina's been there all along. But so if you're going to argue Duke's a blue blood, then yeah, you got to say UConn's a blue blood.
Yeah.
Sure.
Completely agree. Yeah. So UConn taking the title, I guess that's what we both got here.
Yep. Yep.
Transfer portal season will be upon us 110%.
Yeah, so we don't have it. It's not necessarily a topic per se, but let's talk real quick about Michigan State's roster. You've got a really good recruiting class coming in right now. Pretty consensus number 3. Kentucky, Duke are always going to be 1, 2. Who stays? Who goes? Out of the guys, so Hauser's technically
Hauser's
eligible to
gone.
come back,
He's
but
gone.
he went through 2 senior days already. He's gone. Walker can come back.
I think Walker comes back, and I think Hall comes back. I don't think Pierre Brooks comes back.
I
I
would agree
really
with that.
don't. I hear people say that they think Akins will leave if Walker comes back. I don't
see
buy that.
I don't
crap.
see it because Akins has established himself as a starter and a star for Michigan State down the stretch
He's a
with Walker and Hogard in the lineup with him. So if you have Hogard, who played really well and was Eastern, the East region, all whatever, Sweet 16 Elite 8 team, whatever that is, the semifinal
All-region team.
AJ played really well in the tournament. You have AJ at the point. You have Tyson, who's a cold-blooded shooter at the 2. You have Akins, who's become a cold-blooded shooter, and by the way, can be your best defensive player
Get him a ball
and can get to the
he's
rim.
A really good player. Rebounder.
He's your 3. You got Hall as a little bit of a smaller 4, and then you got these freshmen that you can weave in because Izzo likes veteran depth on his team, and then you can bring in slowly these great recruits that you have. Plus, you got guys like Kohler who's going to get better.
Cooper,
You got guys
I think
like
could have a
Cooper
big
is going to get
summer.
better.
Holloman.
Sissoko probably will get better. Holloman's a good role player. I think he's okay being a role guy. Michigan State could be the odds-on favorite to win the Big Ten next year.
That's why I put it on. Yeah,
And I will tell you this. I would say this. Because Tom's going to talk to all these guys. If Jaden said, I'm going to go if Tyson stays, Tom would be, he's loyal to all his guys and he loves Tyson. I think he would see the upside of keeping Akins over it. I think Michigan State fans shouldn't worry, is my point, is if it came down to one or the other, Tyson's going to leave. Because I don't think Tyson would do that for him. He doesn't strike me as selfish that way, and I think he sees what Akins can be for Michigan State. Akins is on the verge of being a superstar.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of guy that you get him a handle and keep him healthy, and he's going to be a 15
He's a
point
rebounder.
15
He's a
points,
defender.
5 rebounds.
He can
2
shoot the
steals a
3.
game kinda
He can
guy.
throw down like Shannon Brown. I mean, he's crazy athletic at the rim. So you're going to miss a guy like Hauser who shot exceedingly well this year. As much as I picked on him
maybe
last
Hall
year.
steps into that
40
role. I mean,
maybe
Hall
does.
was hurt. people were saying on these message boards they're saying that are, the experts, the guys that write for On3, saying you don't realize how bad his back was at the end of the season.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that because you think about his foot when you
His
think about
back
him
was
being
really
hurt.
bad.
So, yeah, so who knows? Maybe he comes back, and he certainly has been in the program. He knows how to win.
He's a
been there.
leader, senior leader, if anything. Then you're.
And hey, I mean, he got he got a big rebound that helped Michigan State, get into overtime against Kansas State. You win some, you lose some, you make some great plays, you miss some good plays. So I would have no problems if he came back because I think relying completely on. And then Michigan State's actually, for as much as Izzo preached, I don't do the portal, he's actually looking for a shooter in the portal because he knows Joey's not coming back.
Right.
So he needs to get an established shooter.
I think he only gets a shooter if Hall and or Walker leaves. If Hall stays and Walker leaves, I don't think he uses the portal. If one of them stays or one of them leaves, I think that he uses the portal.
to get another shooter.
To find a 4 that can shoot the ball a little bit, rebound. Would not surprise me, but looking up from Michigan State, I think Carson Cooper, if he has a healthy summer, that gets a little jump shot, I think he can be a really good backup 5.
Kohler needs to get a little bit more explosive and athletic.
Yeah,
he's got the footwork already. And Ryan and I were talking the other day. Post footwork sucks in college basketball anymore, really, unless you're a guy like we were watching Wisconsin, the NIT. Unless you're, what's his name, Crowell. Post players don't have much footwork, and Kohler's got footwork. He just needs to work on his athleticism.
Yep.
All right. A quick word from our presenting sponsor. Team Anders Realty will help you find the home that best fits your needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients over 30-plus years in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com. All right, so we always got to throw in a fun one, and we're getting to that kind of more silly season where we're going to have to kind of make up content for a while because we don't talk about baseball. We don't have a dog in the fight for the NHL playoffs. The Pistons are the worst team in the NBA, and the NBA is dog meat anyway. So this week we're going to go Canadian Mount Rushmore of the dumbest rules in college basketball. I'm going to throw the first one out there is charge block. Dumb rule, stupid rule.
Terrible.
Needs to go away.
Yeah, no, that's definitely in there for me. So that's 1. 2, I think that cylinder rule bullcrap because they don't use that correctly. If someone's in the cylinder and they get elbowed in the face, they end up usually calling the foul on the
flagrant.
Yeah, I mean it's just it's so inconsistent. Like if you're gonna call it, fine, but make it consistent. That's my issue with college basketball.
Let's lump in together.
Horrible.
Let's lump in together those are point of emphasis rules that I think have been up in the last couple of years. The cylinder, the hook and hold. What was the other one that I was going to think of? The flop. All 3 of those highly called early in a season, not called in the end, but then all of a sudden it'll be called at a time when you're like, wait, you haven't called that at all in a month, and now you're going to call it, and it's going to turn the game. Like those kind of rules, those point of emphasis rules, those quote-unquote freedom of movement rules, garbage. Get rid of all of them. Get rid of all of them. Mm-hmm. I've got one for you. This is more of a timeout rule. Enough with a team that's getting run on that can quite wait for that 16-minute or that 8-minute or the 12-minute or whatever timeout, and they just buckle and they call timeout because their team's on they're getting run on like 11-0. So they're forced to call that timeout with 16:01. And then sure enough, the next stoppage at 15:45, there's another set of TV timeouts. Enough with that. The pace of the game, it's like college football. It ruins the pace of the game. It ruins the flow of the game. If you call a timeout between the 15:30 and 16:30, 11:30 and 12:30, whatever, that counts as your TV timeout. Like, I've had enough. It ruins the game. I get it at the end of the game when people are calling timeouts because you're strategizing on a play. But when you're calling a timeout to quell a run, and then literally 20 seconds of gameplay later, there's another timeout, you're quelling the whole game. So that's a horrible rule, I think. And I'll lump in with that one, another dumb rule, that you can only look at the monitor in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
If it's a bad call, if it's a goaltend, if it's a whatever is it, who's it off of. It should matter at any point in time in the game because those little plays add up. But caveat, if you're going to review it, it should be able to be done in a minute. If you can't change it in a minute of looking at the monitor, the call stands. I know you can judge intent from super slow-mo and that's a flagrant. No, you can't. If you can't figure it out in a minute, then play on. So those are my time pace of play rules.
Another one
is rule number 3.
Freaking make it 6 fouls instead of 5.
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled with that. I wrestle back and forth. I like it for keeping the stars in the game. I think, honestly, though, what 6 fouls does, it takes culpability away from the refs. The refs need to do a better job. They need to be more consistent in what's a foul. They need to be more consistent in what's called. If you can get that, I would rather keep 5 fouls. I think that's a unique point of the game.
Yeah.
Interesting. I saw one today from Jay Billis, and it's not necessarily a rule per se, but he thinks that college men's basketball, like women's did a few years ago, should go to quarters, 10-minute quarters.
I don't like that.
I don't see what the value of that is necessarily. Game flow, yes, but you can fix game flow with the stupid TV timeouts. Probably the other rule that either needs to I'll put it on there as a stupid rule. It either just because it's stupid because it either needs to be enforced or get rid of it is the 3-second rule. Either you let Zach Edey sit in there for 30 seconds, or you call him for 3 seconds.
Yeah,
one or the other.
It's pretty simple. Well, obviously it's not because...
You know what? You want to make it easy? You want to say, well, you don't want to take the ref's eyes off the game? I got one for you. We got a lot of technology. Freaking paint lasers in that thing and have a little clock go off on your belt.
Laser in football.
Have your clock go off on your little belt. They've got the thing to manage clock on their belt, for buzzer stuff. 3 seconds, call it. Doesn't matter who you call it on, it's 3 seconds. Like, there's solutions to these things if they want to solve them. And if you're not going to, fine, just get rid of the damn rule.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There needs to be a large scale, just officiating reform that happens. It's a joke.
Yeah, it is bad.
I
get the human element, but it is so inconsistent. It is inconsistent, not game to game, but half to half.
Right.
It's just like it waters down the game. It makes the game worse. I think if you improve that, then 5 fouls is fine. Guys, yes, are more athletic. Guys are more physical or whatever, but that's fine. Don't run somebody over then. Don't slide in front of somebody for a block. To try to pick up a charge. Like, everything in my mind, mostly 90% of those are blocks and 10% are charges. And make it really simple and clear for the refs, and then you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff as much.
Right. Yeah, all really good points. All right. 4th down. Golf.
We're 2 weeks away from...
No, not even 2 weeks. We're a week away.
From the Masters. We had the match play, which... So long match play. I don't know why the PGA is getting rid of it, because that match play, especially in Austin, like John Rahm said, that course would not hold up for stroke play. It would piss a lot of golfers off. They might not want to play there because there's so much risk and reward. But it is brilliant for match play. Drivable par 4s, get on par 5s and 2, but all kinds of trouble down the left. There's just like risk reward holes up the wazoo, and it was great golf this weekend if you watched it. I mean, funny, both the semifinal matches went to overtime, and you thought you were going to have Scheffler and McIlroy in the final, and they both ended up losing, and they played in the semis. I don't even know who won that match, to be honest. Do you remember, Ryan? Oh, you stepped out of the...
What was the question?
Who won the match between McIlroy and Scheffler?
2 up on him.
2 up. But I'm sad to see that go, because I think, number one, it's a fun tournament. It's a fun tournament to watch. I think the guys like it. I think the commentators like it. Just changes things up. And, when a match is over, it's over. And if you're playing like crap on a hole, so what? You pick up, you concede, and you go to the next hole. I like how that's done. I hope they find a way to bring it back.
Yeah, they need to. It's fun. The guys love it. It's just it's a refreshing thing for them probably to get away from stroke play.
I mean, it's a lot of golf. Like if you're one of those guys, Scheffler, McIlroy, Cam Young, or who destroyed him, Sam Burns in the final 6 and 5. Yeah, you play like 7 matches. That's a lot of freaking golf. Like you're playing 7 matches in a very short period of time. So you're playing more golf than usual if you get that far. But yeah, I just think it's fun. It's different. And in some ways, even though you're playing more golf, it's a little less taxing because if you're out of a hole, you're out of a hole. Next, right?
Exactly. On to the next one. You could get a 10 and it wouldn't matter.
All right.
Honestly.
So for this, before we get into this week, the Valero, there's a few names playing in the Valero, and then next week is when it really matters, the first major of the year. So I got 2 questions for us for this one. One from Chris, because he always has good questions to throw out there, and one I just made up when I was sitting there thinking about this tonight. For the next 10 years, you get to play in every golf major, so that's 40 majors. You play every hole from 100 yards in. Out of those 40 majors, how many cuts are you making?
Probably none of them. Now, I could maybe make a quarter.
You would if you knew that and all you like his point was if you knew that and all you
Just
did
hit
was
100-yard
practice it.
shots. If I just hit a wedge.
Yeah, like if I went and
wedge.
just like up here to the backyard and
I think I could get a 3.
It's 129
I think I
from
could
the
get a
forward
3
tee.
or 4 or 5 at worst every time from 100 yards, unless I just absolutely blade it or like
Right.
screw up around the green.
Mhm.
I mean, if you
But if you practice it,
if you could get on the green or at least close to the green in a safe spot and get it close on 2-putt every time, then you par everything.
when you figure a quarter of those times you're playing the same course because you're playing the Masters. The other 30 you're playing probably most. I mean, some courses you might play twice. In the PGA, U.S. Open, British Open, Rotas, but. So you think you could do a quarter? So you think you could make 10 out of 40 cuts?
I think at least. No,
Yeah.
you? I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
Throwing a few birdies in there, I mean, most of the time evens a cut.
Well, okay, let's look at it 2 ways. Number one, if you knew it and you just practiced nothing but that, and you didn't have
Yes.
to work or anything, but if you practice it, I think you could make probably a quarter to half.
Yes.
If you had to go out there cold turkey today
No.
and you don't get to practice,
No way.
no way in hell. No way. Because I can tell you, in Florida
My
a couple
approach
weeks
game
ago,
is not good.
I hit something like 58% of fairways, which is good even when you consider for pros. I hit like 8% of greens. Like my approach game is dog water. If you could work on it, yeah. If I knew all I needed to do was go and hit wedges at the range and be able to judge the wind a little bit and learn how to spin the ball and that kind of stuff, yeah. If I could practice it, but like as me as a stone cold amateur now, and I just got to go to the major for the next 40 years and be guaranteed in and play only from 100 yards in with no practice, maybe one.
Yeah.
Maybe one.
Yeah, maybe.
So me as I am, maybe 1 out
I
of
got
40.
warm.
Me with practice, I think I could do 10.
Yeah,
out
if
of
I
20,
practice,
10 or
I
20.
can do it easily. But
Yep. Ryan's sitting here watching this North Texas
'Cause I need
Mean Green
points. I
Wisconsin
need
game
to-
because they need points. Wisconsin, last Big Ten team standing.
yeah.
All right, other question. So you could play Augusta one time ever, or you could play St. Andrews every year for the rest of your life. Which one are you picking?
St. Andrews would be awesome, but I would go St. Andrews. Because who plays Augusta? No one.
Yeah, but that's the point. Like you could play Augusta one time.
I'd rather play St. Andrews every year than that. Honestly, it's tough, but
Yeah, fair.
I'd rather play St. Andrews 40 times than Augusta once.
Fair. I can see that.
Just
All right, let's talk-
history.
Let's talk about our contest. how we're
Valero.
doing.
I mean, we couldn't really do placements last weekend, but none of our guys won.
Who did you have?
I had Horschel and Fitzpatrick. I don't think Fitzpatrick made it to the
Knockout round.
Knockout. Horschel did. I don't think Morikawa did. I think Cantlay might have lost in the first round.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So that brings us to the Texas Open. Spawn won it last year, which got him in the Masters. Spieth won it the year before. TPC San Antonio. Kind of a fun course. It's on a resort. I've played on a video game before. Pretty cool. But not a ton of huge names in it, but a guy that needs to win or do really well to get in the Masters is Ricky Fowler. He's playing in it.
I thought about taking him, but I think I've taken him
Yeah, you
this
have.
year
You took him
already.
a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I'm
He's
rolling,
playing better.
I'm rolling with two guys that are newer guys that have been good. Taylor Pendrith, long hidden Canadian, then Davis Riley.
Canadian.
I think he's from the South, so we're rolling with him.
Davis, rather. I'm going Ben Griffin, who's been
He's been playing
pretty
well this year.
and
Yeah.
Christian Bezuidenhout, whatever his name is. I know that those are not two guys that I've taken at any other
No,
point
exactly.
this year,
That's what these tournaments are for. So then, when you do the RBC or the Memorial, you can take other guys that are bigger names. But next week we're gonna have a foursome with Augusta National, which is
first
gonna be-
major of the year, Augusta,
which is going to be delicious. And I'm telling you what, I'm not picking any of those live bastards to win.
It's one of those. It's
They
one
can't
of those.
play. They can't
Their
play
ratings, by the
72.
way, were down 24% from their first.
I got a
weekend.
tournament this weekend. If I'm
Their
not
excuse
mistaken.
was, well, everybody was watching March Madness. Okay, plenty of people were watching the match play, so your golf sucks. None of your, quote, good players ever win. Your format sucks. Nobody likes it. Go away.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see the reception
At the dinner and
of
champions
those
dinner.
guys, that and just in general, if the patrons boo them.
I don't know, though, because that's, like, very frowned upon at Augusta. Like, there's
But
you have
Augusta-
a phone there.
The
you-
people don't like that. I mean, hell,
I think your silence will be your boos. Like, I
Phil
think...
was banned last year from there.
Is he back this year?
Yeah, he's playing. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
He looked. By the way, if you haven't seen a picture of him, he looks like he's 80 years old.
Yeah, he looks
He
really
looks
haggard.
horrible.
He looks like he got
He looked
taken out
like-
back and piped with a...
I'm not
for
kidding.
losing-
He looks like he's ill.
He owes Guido, and he's been getting piped in the back of
He-
the legs or something.
He looks ill.
bad. Yeah.
He looks ill. I don't know what happened to him. Guess that's the live.
So he's drinking
Saudi money.
the Saudi sports washing,
The oil. Drinking the
backwash.
oil. All right.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I'm looking
Oh,
forward
and
to
we
looking
just
forward to
made
that.
our tea time for Atlantic Dunes playing the second of the Harbor Town
Trifecta.
Sea Pines trifecta.
Shout out to Uncle Wayne, who doesn't really listen to the podcast, but he's in the Gallery 13 in a couple weeks for the RBC.
On a wonderful golf
Don't get
course.
eaten by that alligator. That's about where he likes to hang out, if I remember correctly. Yeah, looking forward to that. I mean, I got the itch last weekend playing, and if we could get like the weather to behave here in Michigan, that would be a wonderful thing.
That's not going to happen.
Hopefully, we can play some courses we haven't played before. Well, we will this summer, Manistee.
Manistee National.
We haven't played the South Course since we've been on the podcast, so we can talk about the
No,
South Course.
We'll get to play Manistee National. Maybe we'll do a
We
different
should try to
one.
play Forest Acres West this year, I think.
Yeah, I'd play
I
that.
haven't played there since
Eagle Eye,
college.
maybe Hawks Head or whatever it's called, Hawks Eye.
Hawkeye, yeah.
Maybe Ferris's course. That's not too far away. Yeah, there's some potential in there.
Yeah, we got the what do you got up just north of the para courses? Why can't I think of them? We think
Tullymore
of
St. Ives.
Tullymore St. Ives. Those are good courses. So
We haven't
yeah,
played those in a
we got
long
some
time.
good
I've
courses
never
we
played-
could try to play this year. We haven't done in a while. So
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, sprint time. What is the best Final Four host city?
that's a good question. I'm gonna go toss up between Indy and New Orleans.
Yeah, I said Indy.
Indy's just a great sports city anyway. The hotels, the restaurants, everything's right there
Just,
by
yeah.
Lucas Oil. It's an amateur sports town. People love their basketball in Indiana. So I think that's one. 1A is New Orleans just because I think, I having been down there during a Super Bowl week, I mean, there's stuff to do. There's places to go. It's a little bit warmer at this time of the year. I know why they rotate it and such, but I know why they put it in domes too, but I wish they wouldn't play in domes. It's not
play
as
in the
good
Garden.
a basketball. Yeah, it's not. Back in the day, every year the lottery would come out and we'd all put in the lottery for they'd be in like a 24,000 seat stadium or arena, and they'd give away like 12,000 tickets and the other 12,000 would be for sponsors and blah blah blah. And it was always fun. It's like trying to get Masters tickets, right? Same type of thing. I just think it would be better basketball. It's never going to happen, but yeah, I'll go Indy and New Orleans.
Does spring football matter?
I know that, especially like in the SEC and Ohio State and, even us to an extent, it gets you talking. It gives you something after March Madness. Yes, it matters for the program for development. From my standpoint, I could care less if they televise the spring game. I'm not going to see anything. It's all plain vanilla anyway. I don't want guys to get hurt. I think Tucker's kind of developed a how to not get guys hurt type of run to it.
It's
I think
very
it's important for them to practice and pull together any of the fanfare around it, like selling out a
Take it
stadium
with a
for
grain
it.
of salt. Just
Whatever.
talking points.
It's not for me. It's not
Talking
for me.
points, that's what it
Yeah.
is. Will Michigan State end up using the portal?
I assume we're talking about for basketball.
Basketball, we kind of touched on this, but this is your yes or no in general.
I tend to think that Hall and Walker come back, and therefore no. But I think if one of those guys goes, we do.
Yep. So-
For a shooter, specifically. For a shooter.
Right. Guy that fits well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last one. What sports movie, this could be any in history, deserves a spin-off or a sequel?
Ooh, that's a good question. There are a lot of good ones. It's hard to say any of the true story ones because what would
Yeah,
be
you
the
can't
spin-off
really-
of the sequel? So like the Miracles and the Rudies and
Whatever.
whatever.
The Titans, yeah, you can't really do that.
I'm gonna say Blue Chips
That'd be cool.
with NIL and transfer portal in play.
Right, that'd be kind of cool. I said Little Giants.
Oh, Little Giants, where are they now? Type of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, or like,
or just a new version
they're
of it.
coaching, their
grandkids.
or Icebox and Junior coaching a team or something.
Yeah, Icebox and Junior and what's his nuts?
Spike.
Spike is coaching the other team. Yeah, like characters from before. That would be pretty
Have
good.
those people come back. That'd be kind of cool. But, I mean, you could do a Hoosiers spin-off. Maybe
Yeah,
Ollie's the
Hoosiers.
coach or something.
Yeah, it goes back to Hickory. Yeah,
That'd be hilarious.
Could do that. But Indiana doesn't have classless basketball anymore. They have classes now, so it's no fun.
That's 117 of these bad boys. Appreciate you guys listening. Let us know if you want us to discuss anything specific for any of the spots. As
We love
said-
mailbags, so
said
send in
earlier, we
mailbag
can
questions.
we can try to answer some questions and do some fun stuff.
Why is the
because-
Earth round?
Right. Because, golf is going to be about the only thing on our... unless there's big sports news that comes up. I mean, NFL draft, we'll do a draft episode with Riley back. We'll do that in probably 3 weeks here. Next week probably be pretty heavy on the Masters and the Final Four. But, yeah, thanks for listening. Subscribe. Pound the like button on whatever you listen on. Let us know. Leave a comment. Appreciate you guys.
Meantime, as Coach Larinaga said, right now in this sport, anybody can beat anybody.